Lights out, and we're racing here in MotoGP in Misano. Once again, it's a great start from pole position by the Aprilia Marco Bez. Marc rides around the outside of Alex going into the first corner, but Bez has made the perfect start. Quartararo trying to get through on Alex into third place. The Frenchman there in fourth, but around the outside, oh, how strong was Marc going through turn three. Not close enough though to attack Bez into four.
Well, Alex Marquez said yesterday he wasn't aggressive enough at the start of the sprint. You can argue it's the same situation again there. Marc just rode clean around the outside of him into turn one, and as he was yesterday, he's second at the end of the first sector.
Big moment on the front end there for Bez as he squeezed a handful of brake going into turn four. A new front tyre and a full fuel tank. You could clearly see how he was pushing. Johan Zarco's Grand Prix has ended in disaster. So too, Dramir. Two Hondas out then at turn four on lap one.
And we asked the question whether Mir physically could last the distance. He didn't last 5 corners before he went down in this Grand Prix. I'd love to know how they ended up together, because Mir started 12th, Zarco started much further back in 19th place.
That's Acosta getting on the inside of the Gian Antonio.
Quartararo in third place, mid-31s for the top three. Quartararo's in the very high 31s at 31.9. Alex Rins and Augusto Fernandez on their Yamahas have also got double long lap penalties, so did they jump the start?
Yeah, and as we heard yesterday, is Acosta now, well, he's already made that move on one VR46 Ducati in this Grand Prix, and he's trying to make it through on another, and he has. This has been impressive by Acosta. Made light work then of both the Gian Antonio and Morbidelli on the Ducatis ahead of him going into turn 8. Nothing wrong with the stopping performance of the KTM into Quercia corner. So Acosta then now up into 5th.
Maverick Vinales has gone down. We saw the yellow flags coming out again. Hopefully he's not hurt himself again, because he's just on the recovery from his dislocated shoulder back at the Saxon ring. So we've now lost a KTM and Aprilia, and of course a Honda. Johan Zarco did remount and rejoin the race, but he's way down at the back of the field.
Quartararo tries desperately to tough it out in the braking zone, as Acosta this time around made it through cleanly. He has. So Acosta's favourite move, that's now the Gian Antonio, Morbidelli and Quartararo, who he's picked off going through turn 8. He's on a slightly wider line than going through 10. Marc's warming up here though, isn't he? 1:31.559 on the last lap. That was about a 10th quicker than Bezzecchi ahead of him.
He's broken down, and we've seen his teammate Brad Binder with all kinds of technical problems this weekend. Now it's the other factory KTM that's been struck down.
Well, this has been an embarrassing weekend reliability-wise for the factory KTM team. Binder had 2 chains jump the sprocket earlier on the weekend. He was then ruled out yesterday of the sprint. We saw his reaction trackside. He was absolutely incensed. And Pedro Acosta, having done so much work to fight his way through on the Gian Antonio, Morbidelli and Quartararo, all of his hard work, and no uncertain terms does he let KTM know what he thinks of that one. Understandably so. You can understand why he's so frustrated. KTM, Lewis, have had an absolute nightmare. Where has their reliability gone here in Misano?
Yeah, Binder had all sorts of problems with the chain falling off earlier on in the weekend. And then, of course, he had further problems when he had to pull out of the sprint yesterday. So, at the moment now, with one KTM already in the hedge, with Maverick Vinales crashing out earlier on.
Chain.
That's a chain again. So Brad Binder's problem on Friday has been repeated. KTM coming unhinged this weekend. Yeah, so we saw that aero there. Sort of, well, one side of the front aero is hanging on, the other part there you see dropped off, so a little bit of damage now being carried by the race leader Marco Bezzecchi. But if you're wondering if that slowed him down, as that's Pecco Bagnaia now on the floor. Bagnaia, who was running in 7th place, promoted by Acosta's crash. A home Grand Prix to forget for Pecco.
A 2025 to forget for Bagnaia. Well, it just goes, it lurches from bad to worse, doesn't it? Trail braking, mid-corner, front end washing out on that factory Ducati. Do you know what? Very, very soon, Pecco Bagnaia can kiss goodbye to hopes of being 3rd in this year's World Championship. Marc, though, crawling all over his rear tyre. Just wonder when Marc will feel like the time is right. We know in the second half of this Grand Prix, Jorge Lorenzo touched upon it, speaking to Jack on the grid. Marc's forte is the sort of last third of the Grand Prix. So strong, isn't it?
Bez
Bez has made a mistake. Bez has buckled then under this weight of pressure from Marc. So Marc Marquez did not even have to make a move on Bez to take the lead here in Misano. That could be the crucial moment then of this Grand Prix. Down on the brakes into turn 8. It's an easy mistake to make. You're decelerating down from about 300 kilometres an hour in 6th gear, scrubbing off over 200 k's down into the 2nd gear, turn 8. Is this the pivotal moment of the San Marino Grand Prix?
Yeah, Bez knew that he'd gone in hot there, desperately trying to get it stopped, just keeps it on the racetrack, but Marc Marquez, I guess the pressure ultimately finally did tell on Marco Bezzecchi on lap 12 of 27, and is Marc Marquez going to stick the ball under his jumper and run away with it in the second half of this Grand Prix? Well, yellow flags are coming out. I guess we can't take anything for granted given how quickly so many are dropping out of this Grand Prix, but Marc Marquez, Bastianini, more KTM calamity as he goes down out of 13th place, but surely Marc Marquez isn't going to make the same mistake in 2 consecutive days, is he?
Yeah, got to be careful here now as well, because we know that the FIA and MotoGP stewards have been clamping down on riders that have been disobeying orders from the marshals. He was having a bit of a wrestling match there, wasn't he, trying to get back into his home Grand Prix.
Is Morbidelli finally going to get the move done on Fabio Quartararo? It looks like he might on the inside into Quetcha corner. Quartararo desperately trying to tip it in, but the VR46 Ducati was firmly in his way. And after trying for half the Grand Prix to crack the nut of the factory Yamaha, Morbidelli looks like he's finally done it.
Marc Marquez, well, we know he's always talked about fast rights, certainly not the strongest weapon in his considerable arsenal. As we now go into Caro, turn 14. This is where Bagnaia tipped off the factory Ducati in the first third of this Grand Prix. More misery for Bagnaia. It's been a very lonely third place, hasn't it, as far as Alex is concerned. He got dropped quite early on by both Bez and Marc. I think there was a bit of a head shake there, wasn't there, out that final corner from Bez. Coincided with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix from Marc, a 1:31.386. Well, we said this was his territory. This is his domain on well-worn Michelin rubber. This is where Marc comes into his own, and that is a statement, lap 21. Oh, Bez. So hard as he dared squeeze that front brake into turn 8. It's a fine line, isn't it, between hero and zero. He's right on that fine line at the moment as he continues to hunt down Marc. Out of Tremonto we go. That was a strong second sector, wasn't it, by Marc? I just wonder where that little moment that Bez had on the front end going into 8 just cost him that little bit of vital time. We're building up to the final couple of laps here in Misano. Into turn 14 we go. About half a dozen bike lengths between Marc and Bezzecchi.
So much credit to Bez, but so much credit to Aprilia too for the progress they've made with this bike. It has come on leaps and bounds from the start of the season, and Bezzecchi has to take an awful lot of the credit for that. We now start the penultimate lap. Bezzecchi set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Marc Marquez responds with one of his own.
That's how you respond. That is the sign of great champions and great riders. When you're under immense pressure, you always just have that extra gear. You find something else. He needs it though. He needs a 1:31.2 just to keep Bezzecchi at bay. But towards the back end of this Grand Prix, these two have been absolutely phenomenal. They have been on a completely different plane to everybody else. Punch to punch, toe to toe, exchanging fastest laps to the Grand Prix for fun at the back end of this race. Just shows the talent of these pair.
Marc Marquez has been driven to a place in this Grand Prix I don't think he expected he'd have to go to just to shake this Aprilia off. Well, he hasn't shaken him off. He's just keeping him at bay at the moment. And Marc Marquez is putting in some extraordinarily quick laps. So 1:31.290. That's faster than a few riders went in qualifying yesterday. Extraordinary late race pace. They dropped Alex Marquez to the tune of nearly 6 seconds now. That just shows you what kind of level this pair have been on today.
And a shout out as well to Di Gianantonio once again. A 1:31.6 from Digia. He's got really strong late race pace as well. There is one lap and one corner remaining then here in this Grand Prix of San Marino. We go left through the Misano turn on board with Bez. The final lap will start with Marc 4/10 clear of Bez, who once again, well, this is the kitchen sink and everything else he's got, isn't it, that he's launching at Marc right now. A 1:31.311 on that penultimate lap was Bez's fastest of the Grand Prix. There's nothing else he can do. He has given everything. He has given his all here. Is he just going to come up that little bit too short? You have to say it's been a masterclass in resisting pressure from Marc if he is going to win this San Marino Grand Prix. It's not over just yet, though.
Shades of acid in many respects, where Marc Marquez did practically the entire Grand Prix with Marco Bezzecchi right behind him. Marc Marquez into Croatia corner, where he inherited the lead from Marco Bezzecchi. Bezzecchi inherited a sprint win yesterday where Marc Marquez crashed ahead of him. It's going to take something like that for the Aprilia star to pull this one off.
Well, this is how you silence some of his very public critics here in Misano. Marc Marquez, he says, I always do my talking on the track. That's where it really matters. And it looks like he is going to close out this victory here in the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino. 2 weeks away, surely, from closing out his 7th MotoGP World Championship. What a fight, and what a warrior Marco Bezzecchi has been for Aprilia in this Grand Prix. He is going to come up just that little bit short as Marc Marquez comes through the final corner. It has been another Misano masterclass from Marc. He takes the checker flag, just over half a second clear of Bezzecchi. That is revenge. That is payback for his exit when leading the sprint yesterday. It is a very lonely and distant third place for Alex.
Marc Marquez dropped a race pace masterclass in the Grand Prix. While Bezzecchi hung with the 93 in a way that few have been able to this season, the Spaniard's pace was too much, earning him his 15th win of the year, while 7 riders crashed out behind them.